Okay. And what was the result, you know, in terms of your impacts and outcomes?
In terms of the results, twofold. One, we made £2 million worth of savings, which is great. But more importantly, what happened was it completely refocused our service. And what it's done is had the effect of twofold. One is it's reprofiled our population of clients. Before, we had majority of our young people that we served were slightly younger, so they would come in at anyway. Our service base is 10 to 25. Predominantly, we had a bell curve, if you can imagine, like that, of starting at about 12 or 13. So 10 at very low, 12, 11 picking up, 12, 13 starting to increase. Then a big bulge at 14 through to 16 with a drop off again from 16 through to 18 through to 25 at the very end. Our corporate priority is neat, but young people aren't actually neat until they're post 16. Because until that point they're in education, and therefore we know all young people in school, but doesn't make them neat at that stage. So what we worked out through this is we're working actually with too younger age. We were working with young people doing very good work, no detriment to the work that's been done, but it was the wrong age, core wrong age. And what we managed to do through this was move that bell curve back into where we want it, which is now very much at the 13, 14 end as it starts to rise. It's through the 16 to 18 into the 19 arena. So it moves, the bulk is there, and then it tapers off again later. And so we've shifted our bell curve by about 4 years in total. And that's exactly what we wanted to achieve. Good. And that means now we're working predominantly at the right age with the right young people. And one of our key mantras to the outcomes based model was the right service, right time, first time. So then what we did was we redesigned all our internal processes to make sure that any young person accessing the service was effectively, delivered or got to the right bit of service first time. So
there's not a series of layers to go through to somebody refers to somebody else to refers to somebody else.
Absolutely. And traditionally you'd have a young person just enter the service on an open access basis, discover what needs they've got, and then be supported through that mechanism, which is very inefficient. What this does is brings the young person's needs to the fore. We assess those needs, we look at those needs, and then we say, okay, this is the bit of service that we think can meet those needs. So now any planning we do is still based on the same principle. This is what outcome are we trying to achieve for this young person. And one of the things we've managed to do in this is to break down the service barriers, the internal service barriers, which aren't always obvious. So now we say the young person is the heart of everything we do. We look at what their pathway is that we want to help them, support them down to end achievement, their outcome. And then we almost pick a mix now. We can pick a mix of any number of areas of support within the service to build a bespoke package around that young person.
So it's tailored exactly to your knowledge of what's going to work for them.
And of course now, because we've got outcomes, we're measuring outcomes as much as we can. We're developing more work around that. Of course, we can test that, is it working? If it's not working, we do something else.
And that's for the individual and overall?
And overall, because it builds up. You start with the individual, and then you look at it as a group, and then you look at it as a service area, and you just keep layering on. So what we've done is build bespoke management reports for each area of the service. So every manager gets the reports and information they need to be able to measure their outcomes. And we can do that. And it's their responsibility to say we're getting these outcomes. So one of the things we did do was remove all target-based accountability out of the system. So previously you had a worker would have to meet X young people in so many a month or a week or whatever. What we realised was that was actually a management tool. That was management targets. That was about performance.
So productivity, really, isn't it? How many? How many?
It's not about the outcome.
Thing,
metaphorical thing. A worker could meet a young person 20 times
Yeah.
and still make no difference. And it's the difference we're after.
Yeah.
So we removed all those targets and put them into the performance end of the business through PDR supervision, in terms of giving the managers to say, when you're managing staff, your staff should be producing this type of contact level. This, if they're not doing that, it's a management issue, not a target.
Yes.
So we took all them out of the system and replaced them with outcomes based. And we took off also the restrictions on how they did it. So we said, we don't mind how you do it, but your goal is here.
Yeah.
Your goal is the outcome. And then gave much more flexibility to how they then delivered the work going forward.
Right,
so they
it's
could
much
innovate.
More, exactly, much more freedom to do what makes sense.
Do what makes sense.
Do what you can see from your own learning on a day-to-day basis works for a particular person.
And in a sense, what we did was seem to, for us, we thought of it in terms of reversing round. We brought the outcomes in place of the targets and put the targets into performance.
Right.
And that meant the workers would be managed in terms of their productivity through management management structures, but their outcomes was measured in terms of their ability to produce the outcomes. And it works a lot better. We are getting a lot more positive outcomes.